Sorry, I'm muted. Thank you so much, Sam. Yeah, so just a little bit of background about how the community practice has come about. So Farm to Cafeteria Canada, we have been since 2016 leading what's called the Farm to School Canada Digs In initiative, which we may have some participants from that on the call, I'm sure. And through that, we've been initiating and growing regional communities of practice to support, in large part, grant recipients from that initiative, but also other school communities looking to connect students to healthy, local, and sustainable food at school. And so over the past couple of years, that initiative has been growing. And this past summer in 2020, we were having conversations at our table about expanding that group to be open up and welcoming to more folks across the country. And similarly, some members of the Coalition for Healthy School Food were coming together to also discuss a need for a space where school food practitioners could connect, share resources, and support one another with respect to food literacy and edible education efforts. So with these conversations happening at both tables, we took the opportunity to put our heads together and collaborate to develop an expanded national community of practice as part of the Canada Digs In initiative, which is ongoing. And so we're really excited about this collaboration. Our work at Farm to Cafeteria Canada is primarily to fund, support, and evaluate farm to school or local food to school demonstration projects happening across the country. And the Coalition for Healthy School Food brings some really great strengths to this movement, not only in their vision for universal school meal program, but also experience in policy development, academia, and advocacy. So it's really no surprise that we have active leaders in the food literacy movement in Canada sit at both the Farm to Caf and the Coalition tables, which is why we're really pleased to work with the Coalition and our shared partners to bring together this national edible education community of practice. So with that, I'll go to the next slide and just acknowledge the partners who are part of the Canada Digs In initiative. So this is a multi-sectoral collaboration project. We're grateful for funding received from the Public Health Agency of Canada, and also to additional collaborators, not only in the Coalition for Healthy School Food, but Fresh Roots, Food Share, Green Thumbs, and Roots to Harvest, who have all been kind of around our table behind the scenes, working alongside Sam and our team to kind of envision and bring us to where we are today, and hopefully carry us forward. So thanks to everyone.
Thanks, Jessie. Yeah, so it was a group of folks you see kind of on the slide here in December of 2020 who came together to create a COP working group. And so these regional partners helped to advise in the creation of this community of practice. And many of these advisors are on the call today. So yeah, thank you all for getting your help getting this COP up and running. So this working group drafted our first terms of reference, which can be found on the website, and it will continue to evolve with the community of practice. But I'm going to pull out a couple pieces from the terms of reference to provide some background on the COP. So firstly, our purpose is to provide a supportive space for those working on edible education initiatives to connect with, learn from, and collaborate with other practitioners across the country. This community of practice aims to cultivate relationships and to encourage the sharing, exploration, and development of resources and experiences to inform, inspire, and amplify impact. And we'll be able to connect in a couple of ways through this community of practice. So a team of 2 or 3 edible education coordinators, which is the role that I'm currently playing. These coordinators will co-facilitate and steward virtual COP meetings at least 3 times a year in alignment with the seasons when possible. And these virtual meetings will involve a variety of knowledge sharing and networking activities, including presentations, facilitated breakout group conversations, collective problem solving, and more. Be curious to hear some of your ideas for activities at the COP. And any recordings and written minutes will be made available to members after the meeting. In addition, we'll have some communication platforms for members to connect between meetings. So our edible education listserv, which you're now all a part of, can be used to share information about upcoming events and COP meetings, grant opportunities, or relevant resources. And for a more informal dialogue with your colleagues across the country, you can join our Edible Education Facebook group, and I'll share a link with you all in a follow-up email after this meeting, so you can access that. And then lastly, we'll have a Google Drive where we can store and curate edible education resources. And there's also talk of an edible education Spotify playlist, so stay tuned for that also. This community of practice is intended for school food practitioners who are involved with edible education initiatives anywhere in what we now call Canada. This might include folks working or volunteering with community organizations, teachers or school staff, parents or volunteers, and many more. There's no limit on the number of members who can join the COP, and members can interact with the COP in whatever way meets their needs, whether that's joining these meetings or just engaging in the Facebook group or whatever works best for you. And we really hope that this can be a collaborative and supportive space. So please don't hesitate to reach out with suggestions for activities, ideas for facilitation, resources to share, or more. I also want to recognize that there are many teachers who are currently working in the edible education space who are not able to attend this meeting because it's held during school hours. So we definitely recognize there are some limitations due to the time differences across the country, but we want to make sure that the COP is accessible to teachers. So we're going to look into different options for timing and logistics for future meetings to make sure teachers can attend. On that note, let's see who we've got in the room. So we had, actually, there's been more because a bunch of people registered this morning, but as of last night, we had 76 people register for this community of practice, 24 from BC, 5 from Manitoba, 37 from Ontario, 4 from Quebec, 2 from Nova Scotia, 3 from Newfoundland and Labrador, and 1 from New Brunswick. Well, this is an old version of the slide, sorry about that. And in terms of how long people have been working in the field of edible education, we've also got a wide range of folks. So some are brand new to this work, some have a few years of experience, and actually more than 25% of you have been working in edible education for 10 plus years. And yeah, it's great to have such a diversity of perspective and expertise in this room. In your registration forms, there were some common themes in your answers to the questions. What challenges or opportunities are you coming across right now in your work that you would like the COP to support you with? So the most common answer to this question was that there are issues adapting programs during COVID. And the second most common was limitations in resources and funding to support edible education programs. So that's, I think, no surprise to folks on the call, but those were definitely the two that stood out. Other common challenges or opportunities included engaging volunteers, schools, farmers, chefs, and the wider community, expanding and building on existing programs, remote and online delivery, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, including culturally safe programming, navigating food systems change and broader movement building, supporting educators, and program logistics. And those are a couple quotes from some of the responses that we got. In terms of what topics you'd like to explore in the COP, yeah, there were a few top picks there. The number one was relationship building. And then there was food, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, as well as traditional land-based learning. Outdoor learning was a popular choice, as well as food and climate change, adapting to COVID, food sovereignty, growing, sustainability practices, and working with school administration. So yeah, we think there's going to be an opportunity to dive deep into some of these topics, and many other topics will emerge or intersect with these topics. So thanks to everybody for sharing your preferences here, and this will be really helpful as we develop a roadmap for our next year of COP meetings. There were also some common themes around what you'd like to get out of this community of practice. So many of you wrote that you wanted a space for networking and relationship building, to create a sense of community and a support network for your work. You also said that you wanted to gain knowledge and share resources and exchange current and best practices. Many of you also said that you just want to learn what other programs are happening across Canada to generate ideas and inspiration for your own programs. And lastly, a common theme was around partnering and collaborating on initiatives together as a community of practice. So we're excited for participants to bring a variety of knowledge, experience, and perspective to the COP. And many of you said you were willing to share stories, examples of program successes and failures, and life experiences related to your edible education programs. Just a note to those who just entered that you're probably unmuted. You can just hear something in the background. Thanks. So as a member of the COP, we invite you to present information about the way your school or organization runs your programs, to bring questions or challenges forward to this group, as well as to share resources that are valuable to your program. And we also invite you to maybe even lead or co-facilitate a COP activity. So yeah, we foresee a lot of opportunity for this COP to become a space for learning, connection, and collective action.